Welcome to this section on Amazon S3. So this section is very important because Amazon S3 is one of the main building blocks of AWS. And the way it's advertised is that it's infinitely scaling storage. So as a matter of fact, a lot of the web relies on Amazon S3. For example, many websites use Amazon S3 as a backbone. And many AWS services will also use Amazon S3 for integrations as well. So in this section, we'll have a step-by-step approach to Amazon S3 to learn the main features. So there are so many use cases for Amazon S3 because at its core it is storage. So Amazon S3 is used for backup and storage. It could be for your files, it could be for your disks and so on. For disaster recovery purposes, for example, you will move your data to another region. In case a region goes down, then your data is backed up somewhere else. It's for archival purposes, so you can archive files in Amazon S3 and retrieve it at a later stage for much, much cheaper. For hybrid cloud storage, so in case you have storage on premises, but you want to expand it into the cloud, you can use Amazon S3 for this. To host applications, to host media such as video files, images, and so on. To have a data lake, so to store a lot of data and to perform big data analytics. For delivering software updates, for hosting static websites, and so on. And two use cases is that the NASDAQ stores 7 years of data into the S3 Glacier service, which is like the archival service of Amazon S3. And Cisco runs analytics on its data and gains business insights from Amazon S3. So Amazon S3 stores files into buckets, and buckets can be seen as top-level directories. And actually, the files in these S3 buckets are called objects. And these buckets, they are created in your account and they must have a globally unique name. That means that the name must be unique across all the regions you have in your account, but also all the accounts that exist out there on AWS. Okay, so this is the only thing that must be globally unique in AWS. And the buckets are defined at the region level. So even though the name of the bucket is unique across all regions and all accounts, the buckets must be defined in a specific AWS regions. So S3 looks like a global service, but the buckets are actually created in a region, and that is a common mistake for beginners. So there's a naming convention for S3 buckets. You don't need to remember it, but it's good to know. So bucket names must have no uppercase, no underscore. They must be between 3 and 63 characters long. They must not be an IP. They must start with a lowercase number or lowercase letter, and then there are some prefix restrictions. So as long as you use letters and numbers and hyphens, you're good to go. Okay, so now let's talk about objects. So these objects, they're files and they have what's called a key. And an Amazon S3 object key is the full path of your file. So if you look at my bucket, this is the top level directory, then the key of myfile.txt is myfile.txt. But in case you want to nest it in what we call folders, then the key is going to be the full path. So my folder 1 / another folder / myfile.txt. Therefore, the key is composed of a prefix and then an object name. So we can, for example, decompose the path from before into the prefix, which is my folder 1 and another folder, and the object name, which is myfile.txt. So Amazon S3 does not have a concept of directories per se, although when you look in the console, the UI, you will think otherwise and you will actually create directories. But anything and everything in Amazon S3 is actually a key. And keys are just very, very long names that contain slashes, and keys are made of a prefix and an object name. Okay, so the objects, then what are they? Well, the values are the content of the body. So you can upload a file, you can upload whatever you want into Amazon S3. So the max object size is 5 terabytes. So this is 5,000 gigabytes. And if you upload a file that is very big, and if that file is greater than 5 gigabytes, so a big file, okay, then you must use the multi-part upload to upload that file into several parts. So if you have a file of 5 terabytes, then you must upload at least 1,000 parts of 5 gigabytes. Now, the objects can also have metadata. They're list of key and value pairs, and that could be set by the system or set by the user to indicate some elements about the file, some metadata. Their tags, for example, their Unicode key and value pairs up to 10, they're very useful for security and life cycles. And sometimes the object will have a version ID if you have enabled versioning. So that's it for an introduction to Amazon S3. I'm sure you're curious about how that works, so let's go in the console to get started.